So I had a bit of an epiphany about travel in D&D. So I've got here an example set up of my heroes, all in their heavy armour and magic weapons, being attacked by a bunch of bandits. And even if I throw in 20 odd bandits, it's still going to end one way, and that's with the players losing a few hit points and killing them all, or talking to one. You get the old prisoner dilemma and what have you. And I realised something. This is my campaign map, or a section of it, and my players had to travel from that city there, Frostshore, past that fortress called Steelheart, and all the way up to a city called Run. It was a journey that took them about 5 weeks, so obviously in that time I wanted to throw in a few encounters. But here's the thing. In role-playing, all journeys are between 1 and 3 encounters long. 5 weeks. We're not going to role-play through 5 weeks. We're not going to role-play through each day of that travel, and we're certainly not worried about how many miles the journey is. All journeys in D&D are generally between 1 and 3 encounters long. So usually I say, all journeys are 2 encounters, and it's a long-standing joke that distance in D&D is measured in the number of encounters. So it doesn't matter how far you've got to go, it's always between 1 and 3 encounters. But there's a problem with random wilderness encounters that really drives me crazy. I'm going to have 3 encounters, so 5 days in, my dwarf here loses 10 hit points of his 40 odd, and then later on my cleric over there loses 7 hit points of his 25 odd, and my ranger here on the 3rd encounter loses a few. In fact, maybe the other fighter does. They lose a few hit points. But the problem is, because you're spreading these encounters over several weeks, there's a long rest at the end of every day. You go back to full hit points. And that's something actually I found very frustrating with D&D 5th edition, is that you could just get all of your hit points back every day. So travel isn't difficult unless you're going to make it every journey of campaign length. So whilst on the fly, I came up with 2 techniques to combat this, and I'm going to need to think of some more. The first one, see here, I've got this fence along my path, and then there's some people building that fence, and they're being ambushed by snakes. So what the players need to do here, of course, is to save the people building the fence. So now there's an objective which the players can lose, even though the encounter isn't likely to take all their hit points away from them. Another thing I did was to string multiple encounters together into a single day, so that they were stalked for several days and then attacked. And then later on that day, they were attacked by something that had smelt the blood. And then they had a 3rd encounter at the end of that, all in one day, so they all had just 1 hit point pool for all of those wandering encounters. Now, another thing you could do, of course, is to use tougher encounters, but in the wilderness, you're not going to have every single fight be life or death on every journey you make. So you're going to mix it up a bit. So my plan now is to come up with a series of scripted encounters that I can just use at any point during an adventure. Encounters like this, where there's an alternative victory condition other than surviving. Another thing that I thought of was maybe on the course of a journey, you might come across a settlement, and maybe there's a very small side quest, something that takes an hour or 2 to play through, a little mini quest on the side. And that can, in many ways, I think, be more interesting than just a random encounter with some monsters.